Hey, how you doing there again, folks? Me again, of course, Brandon Wenzel. Come back at you with not another offering off my sampler platter. Instead, we're doing an offering off of my Concert Confessions series. Concert Confessions is a series that I keep meaning to do and then not doing, and then I did one episode and then I didn't do any more until right now, where basically I go over there and I vlog about my concert experiences, opinions on the Illinois music scene, all that good stuff. If you watch my channel, you probably already know I'm an avid music fan. I've been out to, at the time I'm doing this, 175 concerts. I'm a big fan of live music. I love music in general. My entire channel is just concert videos and then me reviewing food while usually wearing band merch. So it's something I'm very passionate about, and this is a series that I've been wanting to actually restart and get going again. I did do one episode, and then I didn't do any more because my original intention was to do these videos right after I got through attending a concert, and that was just not going to be possible. I'm too wiped out after a show for me to go over there and try to, put on any type of a video or anything. But I did figure, well, maybe if I give it a couple days, I could go over there and get away with it. So that's what we're going to try with this one. But anyway, like I said, this is concert 175, but what concert was it? Who was there? What was the venue? What were we doing? That's what we're going to talk about right now. So, to start off, concert was for a band called The Browning, who I'd previously seen in 2023. I was very excited for that. They're a band that have been around for more than a little bit at this point. And, when I saw that they were going to be performing, not too far away from where I live, a little bit of a drive, I was excited. Then it got even more exciting when it turned out that they were touring with a band called the Dropout Kings, who I'd seen a few years prior and was really excited to see them again. Then what really sealed the deal for me was that the opening act was actually a local band called Aight Bet, who I'm a big fan of and I'd seen just a few months prior. So it all just kind of coalesced into this really cool thing. On top of that, there was a band I'd never heard of called the Defect, and a band called Filth, who I thought I'd never heard of, but then it turned out that I had, and actually I liked their stuff. So, the venue in question was a place called the WC Social Club, which is, at this point, the venue I've attended the most shows at. Sadly, a lot of the really good, rock and metal venues in the suburbs of Illinois have passed on for one reason or another. But WC Social Club has benefited from that. They get a lot of really great artists through there. It's a place I'm very fond of. I've been to lots of great shows. I hope to be at lots of other great shows in the future. But the only thing that was a little bit interesting this time was that this is the first time I've been there where they had specifically a no re-entry sign. I don't know if that's like a permanent thing they're doing going forward or if it was just because of the crowd size for this particular show, but I hope that it's not a permanent thing. Like, bigger venues I get, smaller venues I personally think should allow re-entry. But that's just me, I'm just tossing that out there. But, let's talk about the bands. Starting off, we had the band, like I said, Aight Bet. They're the local band, they're the ones starting off the show, and they fucking killed it. Like, I love these guys, they're extremely nice dudes. I actually got the opportunity to talk with a couple of them before the show. I have nothing but great things to say about them. Despite the fact that they're, quote unquote, they're the local band, right? So, you don't always expect a lot from the local band. I do, because I know how good our local scene is. These guys are a huge credit to that. They come in, they get the audience going, and they fit perfectly with the vibe of the show. Especially having a band like the Dropout Kings there. Similar styles, similar sort of vibe. They were fantastic. From the get-go, they were great, high energy. They even debuted at least one new song. They said that they were going to be debuting two. I'm not sure what the other one was, but they debuted one new song, which was really cool. And I did get some videos of those, by the way. They're on the channel, including the new song. They were badass, man. Absolutely loved them. Nothing more to say. Band after that was a band called The Defect. I had never heard of these folks. I didn't know what I was going to get going into it. What I didn't expect was that it was going to be a side project band for the lead singer of the Browning. Turns out that he and his wife have this, secondary project called The Defect. And it was interesting because they never alluded to that during their set. Like, and I get it, you want it to stand on its own and everything, but I do remember when they first came out, like they had these really nice lighting effects and everything, and despite it being their first ever tour, it was like, wow, these guys have really good production value. And then when they came out, I'm like, isn't that the lead singer of the Browning? And it was. They were awesome though. They were genuinely my find of the night. I really enjoyed, they had a mix of harsh and clean vocals, with a mix of male and female vocals. I really love female vocals in metal. I'm a big fan of like Ginger and even OTAP, even though some of the bullshit with her. Love that type of stuff. So it was really cool to see, and like that on top of going over there and having again that production value from the Browning stuff and everything was awesome. Sound wise, it was kind of a little bit similar to the Browning. You definitely had a lot of those sort of electronic effects to it, but then also just it was very much its own thing, a bit more ambient, not quite as heavy most of the time, and I super dug it. Like I was blown away. I was kind of hoping they might suck a little bit so that I could leave my space and go like talk with Aight Bet, but they were so good I didn't want to move. Again, definitely my find of the night. And I'll be honest with you, I kind of like them a little bit more than the Browning, though there's a lot more to work with the Browning just for sample size. After that, you had the band Filth, who, like I said, I did not think I knew. And it wasn't actually until after the show I was going through, I have an entire playlist of like music references, like bands that I need to look into or what have you. And I realized, oh wait, I actually did know Filth. It's just like I looked into their stuff a couple years ago. They were fucking awesome too. I would say they were probably the heaviest of the bands that played. And the lead singer, he's this big giant black dude, and like he just fucking killed it, man. Like stage presence, vocal delivery, everything was awesome. The one downside I have to say about their set, and this is the only downside, they needed to go over there and crank up the vocals on the lead singer. Because even I want to say guitarist, might have been bassist, but I think it was the guitarist, he also shared vocals on some of their stuff. His mic was turned up more than the lead singer's. That was my only gripe. It was like, Urgh! Like I want to feel it. That's why when like bands are doing sound checks and stuff, obviously they're working with the sound guy, they're trying to make it work. Ask the crowd how it sounds, because at the end of the day, the sound guy's way back there and he's doing his job, The crowd are the ones who are really going to be invested. Let them do a few bars, and then I'm just tossing that out there, because I think that would have made that experience even more explosive and even better. But as it was, they were really fucking good too. Like just, again, really cool energy, clearly very good at what they do, and a really nice, like, kind of in the middle band, where on the one hand you had, the local band, and then you also had this kind of new project with the Defect. Also, credit to the Defect. What with the fact that obviously having the lead singer of the headlining band was in there, they could have easily been higher up the card, but instead they were just the second band. So again, good on them. I like that. But yeah, having Filth like right in there, perfect positioning. Moving on from that, you have the Dropout Kings, who I am a big fan of. Like I said, I ran into these guys a few years ago. I believe they were on tour with Head PE. It was Head PE and Cultist Black. And at the time, I had no idea who they were. When they performed, I was way in the back. And it wasn't until later on when like I really started to kind of, get more into their music, I was like, holy shit, these guys are really badass. So I've been wanting to see them perform live. They tour a lot, and it just hadn't quite coalesced until this particular instance. A little bit of an interesting tour mate for the Browning, because the Browning, they're sort of, very heavy, very electrical, electronic type of metal, whereas Dropout Kings are new metal. They're a mix of, rap and harsh vocals and stuff. At one point, I don't know if they still are, but I know they were actually managed by the lead singer of Coal Chamber, so they all, had that influence. Getting to see them perform live, this time right up close, I was literally front row center for the entire show, was awesome. Like the energy that those guys put into it. You know, I will say I was hoping for a couple of specific songs that didn't show up, but that just is what it is. But they did hit some of the bangers, some of the ones that I was familiar with, and they had a nice mix of like older stuff and newer stuff. And I'm one of the people, I don't mind if bands do newer stuff. I think that's great. New music is good. They were fucking awesome. Like, nothing bad to say about their show. In particular, their one vocalist, they got two, was just, he was balls in it, man. The whole time, he was jumping into the crowd. He was grabbing people's hats. He actually grabbed my hat and put it on. I even have some pictures of him wearing it. Like just super into it. At one point, he went over there. He pushed his face right against my face, and we were both just belting out to the song. That was amazing. And then to make it even better, somebody showed up in a big old unicorn outfit, and then was eventually pulled up on stage and did a unicorn jump off of the stage. Only at a metal show. They were incredible. They more than lived up to my expectations of having seen them years ago. They are a band that I will see over and over again. Hopefully. Then moving on to the final band, the headliners, the Browning. Now, like I said, I did see the Browning less than 2 years ago, about a year and a half ago, something like that, when they were on tour with Born of Osiris. And that show sold the fuck out. It was packed from just like way more people than I'd ever seen at the West Chicago Social Club. This was damn close, though. The crowd was fucking huge. They were super into everything that was going on. And the Browning, if you've never seen them live, you owe it to yourself to see them live. They are such a high-intensity live band. They also have a lot of really cool lighting effects. And the nice thing about their lighting effects is they're not anything super crazy. They're fairly minimalistic. They're just utilized very well. And that, for me, was definitely, I mean, look, the music is the main thing, but it's a show. There's a theatrical element to it. On top of that, when I got to see them this time compared to last time, it was nice because they had a drummer this time. Last time they just had a drum machine, but this time they actually had the drummer from the Defect. So you've got that live drummer experience. Despite the fact that at one point, although I think it was during the Defect show, he was going over there and hitting on one of his drums, and one of the tops of his drum broke, and he tried to get a replacement in, but it was the last song, so he was just like, fuck it, I guess, and just, hammered away at it regardless. But no, it was really cool. I like the Browning. I'm never going to say they're like one of my favorite bands or anything, but in terms of putting on a live show, you are hardly ever going to find a band that does it harder than they do. From start to finish, they're high energy. And the lead singer kept saying this, hey, we're going to put everything into it, you give us all you got. And that was very much the case. Their set was fantastic. The only thing that I was a little bit bummed about was that they didn't do their cover of the song Switchback by Cell Dweller, which happens to be my personal favorite song of theirs. But they did do a cover of Blue by Eiffel 65, which was really fun and interesting. Yeah, man, I mean, like, just again, super energy. They have to be the headliners, in almost any instance, because you are going to be hard-pressed to find a band that's going to go over there and upstage them. As great as Dropout Kings was, as great as Filth was, as great as The Defect was, as great as Aight Bet was, in terms of just sheer ferocity of energy, the Browning killed it. And it was a fantastic show. Moving on from the bands in question, I want to talk about the crowd. Again, the crowd was amazing. I don't think it quite sold out, but I know it came close. There was a low ticket warning on the day of the show. So it was filled. And the WC Social Club, I love, but it is not a venue known for filling itself out. Like, I've been to shows with bands, nationally touring bands, where it was me and a couple dozen people. But the Browning, the Dropout Kings, all the bands, it's to their extreme credit that they were able to pack that place on a fucking Tuesday in -degree weather. It was fantastic. And the crowd themselves were really into it. The one downside of the crowd, though, was that, like I said, I was front row center for this whole thing. I didn't move once I got to my spot. The only point I ran into that was an issue was before the Browning started, there was a guy who came up from the back who wanted to go over there and be up front. He asked if he could go over there and kind of slide in. I had a little space. I decided to be nice. I let him have it. And then he turned out to be possibly the biggest jackass I've ever met. I mean, that's not true. I've met way bigger jackasses. But the guy was a huge jackass. He was one of those guys who was way more interested in his social media bullshit on his phone than being at the actual show. He was taking calls during the set. Then the thing that was really most annoying, he kept trying to basically force the lead singer of the Browning to take his phone, because sometimes bands will do that. You know, if somebody's got their phone out, they'll take their phone, do a quick video or something. This guy wouldn't stop with it, though, even though it was clear that the Browning guy was not going to fucking take his goddamn phone. He was not going to let it go. And to be fair, he had some drinks in him, for sure, but that really doesn't excuse being a colossal jackass. And I immediately regretted giving him that spot. What was even worse was that he was rewarded for it. He never got the guy to give it, or to grab his phone, but eventually the drummer did go over there and give him part of a drumstick at the end of the show, and it pissed me off so much because he was such an obnoxious asshole. But anyway, otherwise the crowd was fantastic. It was a really great set. Crowd energy was huge. I loved it. Let's talk about merch, because that's one of my favorite parts. What did I get from the show? Well, I got myself a CD, specifically, boom, this is the Defect album. I loved this set. Now, these days, it's becoming harder and harder to find albums at concerts. Used to be the norm. They'd have, like, their entire discography. These days, not as much. But when I saw that the Defect had their album, I definitely wanted to get that. This is my one album from the show. I also got some shirts. Specifically, boom, I got another Aight Bet shirt to go along with the one that I have right now. Like I said, I love the guys from Aight Bet. They only have 2 shirts at the moment, so I've got both of them. I knew I wanted to get a shirt from them. I always really like to support the local acts, especially when I'm as big a fan as I am with Aight Bet. So even though I'm not a big fan on the blue, I had to get it. I also got I got a shirt for, boom, the Defect. Now, I really like this design, but they had a design, sort of a cyberpunk style design, that I loved and really wanted. And when I asked the guy handling the merch, it's like, you got it in XX? Because I'm a fat guy. He's like, we do. And then he's like, no, we don't. We have it in 3X. And I was like, fine, give me the 3X. Then he comes back, he's like, shit, I have it in 1X, or I have it in 4X. So he's like, we do have the other one in 2X, so I went with the other one. I still really like the design, but I think I'm going to try to get a hold of that other one anyway, because I just loved it so much. And then, final piece of merch that I got was, boom! The Dropout Kings. Had to get one of their shirts. I do have one from the first time I saw them, so I knew I wanted to get a second one. And I really like this design. Actually, they were really low on merch by the time I got there, which was surprising because it wasn't that big into the tour, or long into the tour. But I really like this design, even more so than the other one. So, I'm a fan. So, with all that said, here comes the final part of this, my recap and my grade. As a recap, this was a fantastic show. In terms of being a show to go over there and start out the year, I could hardly have done better. Every single band was fantastic. The crowd was fantastic, with the exception of that one asshat, who, if I ever see again, I'm going to make absolutely sure that he is near the back of the goddamn thing. Like, if I have to physically move in there. The entire rest of the show is badass. Probably the only kind of downsides to it were, again, the one jackass. And then there was just the fact that because I had such a great spot, I didn't want to move. So I didn't get to get any, like, pictures or really chat with the bands as much as I normally like to, because I didn't really have a good opportunity to go do that without giving up my spot. I love getting pictures with bands. I love getting to chat with them. Just wasn't a thing that I was able to do. And by the time everything was said and done, everybody kind of moved around, and, like, it was, like, negative degrees out, and I wanted to get home. So that was pretty much the biggest downside, was just that I didn't get to spend more time and hang out with the bands the way I like to. Other than that, this was a killer fucking show, and in January, no less. So my grading system, I'm going to start at S. That is the best of the best. And we're going to go down to F. Where does this one rank? This is an A minus. There is very little wrong with this show. The crowd was fantastic. The overall of it was just great. Every single band fucking killed it. Only things, again, to keep it down a little bit, just I would have liked to have spent a little time with the bands, but that's on me. And the one jackass. If it wasn't for the jackass, this would have been a solid A. But the fact of the matter was that really started to aggravate the hell out of me, and what with it being the Browning being the one performing, they had the longest set, so I had to deal with him for a long period of time. So otherwise, though, this was a damn near perfect show. Again, thanks to the WC Social Club, they are a great spot. If you happen to, go out to the shows there. They are really good. The venue has a nice sound. The people who work there are nice. I've never had any issues there. And just thank you to the bands. Thank you to the crowd. Thank you just in general. You know, the sound guys, everybody, the techs and stuff doing their thing. And yeah, man, it was a great show. We'll kind of leave it at that. All that said, folks, this is going to be my sign-off for episode 2 of Concert Confessions. Like I said, hopefully I'll keep up with it this time, and hopefully you enjoy it. It is just going to be me yammering on, and it's mostly self-indulgent, but hopefully you'll indulge me in my self-indulgence. With all that said, folks, I'm going to sign off here. Let's keep it fucking heavy, and let's go over there and let's get out to more live shows. I'll get a better outro eventually. Bye.